Whoops. All right. 1 second. Zoom. Mute. Speakers. Same system. Microphone. Okay, microphone. There we go. Okay. All right, let's get set. All right, just one more thing, and we are ready to go, participants. Okay. Good to see everybody. Welcome to the Bhagavadgita class, or Bhagavadgita study. And yesterday, of course, we didn't do the Bhagavadgita because it was a very, very special day in the Vaishnava calendar. It was Lord Balaram's appearance day. So, today we'll continue with the Bhagavad Gita from the 10th chapter. And of course, the verse we're going to start reading today is the 18th verse in the 10th chapter. And first, we're going to chant Jai Radha Madhava. And let's see, we got a nice amount of people here. All right. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Malaba Giri Varadhati Gopi Jana Malaba Giri Varadhati Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunya Bihari Gopi Jana Malaba Giri Paradhari Gopi Jana Malaba Giri Paradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tirabana Chari Yamuna Tira Manachari Jaya Rad Amadava Kunya Bihari Jaya Rad Umadava Kunya Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravidikacharya Osutara Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Savaya Chananada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Viras Thakur Ki Jai Say Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopinath Shyam Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturam Ki Jai Jagannatha Swami Ki Jai Yamudamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. So Om Magana Chimananda Shah Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur and Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my divine spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So, as I mentioned, we're continuing with the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita and text 18. And let's see, I guess I'm not going to talk about anything controversial tonight, although I am tempted to talk about controversial things, but this may not be the right forum for doing that. Okay. It looks like Chambaka has changed her face here. Nothing on you. Anyway, so we will share the screen and continue with the nectar of Bhagavad Gita. So we're on text 18 in the 10th chapter. This is our 72nd episode. Now that's a lot. Okay, because we're going through rather slowly and reading all of Prabhupada's purports and commenting on different subject matters that might be of interest to you, and also explaining different terms that people who just came to Krishna consciousness may not be aware of. Okay, let us start. Vistarenatmano yogam vibhutim cha janardana bhuya kataya triptirhi shenvato nasti me matam. Vistarena in detail, Atmanaha, your yogam, mystic power, vibhutim, opulences, cha also, jana, ardana, o killer of the atheist, puyaha, yen, kataya, describe, tripti, satisfaction, he, certainly, shrinvataha, hearing, naasti, there is not, may, my, amritam, nectar. O Janardana, again please describe in detail the mystic power of your opulences. I am never satiated in hearing about you, for the more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words. So that's the quality of a devotee. There is no satiation point. For those of you who don't know what satiation is, satiation means I am full. I've had enough. It's like if you're eating, and say someone gives you your favorite food, whatever that happens to be, and after a while, you are satiated. You don't want any more. But Krishna Katha is not like that. There's no satiation point. You want more and more and more and more, because it gets better and better and better and better and better and better and better. Otherwise, with material things, hearing the same thing, doing the same thing, is like the Chinese water torture. What I mean by the Chinese water torture, drop of water, blip, 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 and it just drives you completely bananas after a while. So, we don't want to be like that. Don't ask what the controversial things are, because I'm not going to speak about them in Zoom conference. They have to do with the sociology of ISKCON. And I'm just putting my thoughts together and probably going to write something else, something about it. It's very important. It's a question, just to answer your question, it has to do, it has more to do with people denying reality in religious movements, which is, in technical words, cognitive dissonance. And it has a lot to do with strategies, designations of people's bodies, like sexism and racism and things like that. Anyway, it's an interesting subject matter that I talked about this morning with some devotees, but it will take some time to put all the parts together. Anyway, so for the more I want to taste the nectar of your words. Let's get back to Krishna Katha, not your Krishna Goswami Katha. You know, it's more and more blissful. The more you hear about Krishna, the more and more blissful it is. And you can just go on hearing it. You never want to sleep, and you never want to stop hearing it. So, purport. A similar statement was made to Sutta Goswami by the rishis of Narayan Sharanya, headed by Shonaka. The statement is, actually, this was the verse I was thinking of in the Bhagavatam, and I just didn't remember the Sanskrit. You know, where it said swadu swadu pade pade. So vayam tu na tripyama uttama shloka vikrame yat srinvatam rasa jnanam swadu swadu pade pade. One can never be satiated even though one continuously hears the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, who is glorified with excellent prayers. Those who have entered into a transcendental relationship with Krishna relish at every step the descriptions of the pastimes of the Lord. That's from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, text 19, and I should have remembered that. Thus Arjuna is interested in hearing about Krishna and specifically how he remains as the all-pervading Supreme Lord. Now, one reason, I mean, apart from Krishna being all attractive, that we want to continually hear about the pastimes of Krishna, or the not only the intimate pastimes, but everything Krishna does, is because there's love there. And when there's love, there's an emotional component. I was explaining to a devotee today, when we were talking about emotions, that you want to go back to the spiritual world. Yes, you better get ready for extreme emotions at every moment. And those emotions are described by the acharyas, the bhava. Of course, right now we have the emotions of sickness, or sick emotions. Those are called bhava roga. But in the spiritual world, we have these wonderful emotions that are, sometimes there's fear there, sometimes there's anger. I mean, sometimes you have Radharani getting angry with Krishna. And her associates, they're also angry with Krishna. We don't want to hear Krishna's name anymore. Don't let Krishna come near. And Krishna enjoys this, of course. But it's intense emotions in the spiritual world. There's nothing like, oh yeah, I love Krishna. He's nice. He's a nice guy. It's just really intense. Krishna. Gauranga balite havi pulaka sharir hari hari nayane bhave near. Just like Narottam Das Thakur prays, when will I come to the point when I chant Gauranga, and tears will come from my eyes like torrents of rain, shivering in my body, fainting. And of course, we're chanting about the spiritual master in this way every morning in the second prayer of the Guru Vastika. What is that? Mahaprabha Kirtana Nrityagita Varitramadyan Manaso Visena. Romancha. They're standing on it. So when the spiritual master, a bona fide guru, a bona fide devotee, hears the kirtan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then watch out. Richa Gita, he starts dancing and chanting. He can't just stay still and do the shuffle like most devotees do in the kirtan. You know, sometimes in Mangalarti it's just like, it's the shuffle. It's a new type of dance the devotees have invented. But Prabhupada at least wanted us to do the Swami step. Swami step is, I mean, I can't display it right now, but it's one foot in front of the other, another foot in front of the other, and it's swaying from side to side. It's beautiful. If you do that step, and everybody does it in tune or according to the rhythm, it just creates a beautiful scene. I remember the early days of the movement. You'd have the men on one side of the temple room, the other women on the other side, because it's not a romantic dance. And both sides would be swaying from side to side. It was like a Broadway play, basically, but a spiritual Broadway play. So anyway, so that's a pure devotee. And it's described if you are not experiencing that or feeling like that, when you hear Krishna's name, then your heart is certainly steel framed. You got problems, buddy. So this is what we should want to experience. Extreme emotions. And as far as the emotions in this material world, we are not proposing that one suppress or repress the emotions, but according to my understanding that I've taught many devotees, is we become aware, we express the emotions in the proper context, and become aware of what needs those emotions represent. That's all. Because they represent some fulfilled needs or unfulfilled needs. And when you're aware, then you come up with strategies. And when you're able to fulfill your different needs in this material world, you will be peaceful. And when you're peaceful, you can progress on the path of Krishna consciousness. And needs are not the same thing as desires. Anyway, we're not going to give a whole class on this right now. So, as far as Amritam nectar is concerned, any narration or statement concerning Krishna is just like nectar. And this nectar, can be perceived by practical experience. Of course, this word nectar has been really misused by devotees in many ways. When you use a word over and over and over again, it sort of loses its meaning. That class was really nectar, Prabhu. Bhajana was really nectar, Prabhu. Your baby is really nectar, Prabhu. That book is really nectar, Prabhu. What else is nectar? Swimming is really nectar, Prabhu. So, nectar means that there's something, ambrosia, that's actually a better word, can be perceived by practical experience. Prachaksha Bhagavam Dharmyam Shushukam Kartamabhyam. As Krishna says in the beginning of the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Vajravidya Rajaguyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Prachaksha Bhagavam Dharmyam Shushukam Kartamabhyam. This Krishna consciousness is the king of all knowledge, king of all education, and it gives direct perception of the self, direct perception of ecstasy, and there's realization. Modern stories, fiction, and histories are different from the transcendental pastimes of the Lord in that one will tire of hearing mundane stories, but one never tires of hearing about Krishna. Just like a movie, for example. You can watch it once, you can watch it twice, and then you know exactly what's going to happen. It's kind of boring. It is for this reason only that the history of the whole universe is replete with references to the pastimes of the incarnations of Godhead. For example, yesterday was Lord Balaram's appearance, or a commemoration of his appearance. And we heard different pastimes that we've heard hundreds, if not thousands of times before, actually thousands of times before, but just hearing about it and picturing it. Actually, when you hear, which is the most important of all the senses, the hearing, when you hear something, you should picture it in your mind's eye. Shushusho Shradanadasha Vasadevakata Ruchi Shan Mahatsevya Vipra Punya Tirthan Nishevana. And this hearing is the best service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnupam, Smaranam, etc. So when you hear something, you don't just listen to it in one ear, out another ear. You just envision what you're hearing. Like if you're hearing about Balaram killing Dhenukasura. Dhenukasura was the ass demon, Forgive me for that four-letter word, but that's what he is. Or donkey, for those of you who are more sensitive. So he is a donkey demon. And when I hear this pastime, and I hear about Balaram taking him and whipping him up and throwing him into the tree and all the donkeys in the trees, etc., I can actually see it. I actually can see it. And not that I have some spiritual vision, but this means that we're hearing with rapt attention. Mantra murti amurti kam. It's described that in the mantra is the form. Like in the Hare Krishna mantra, what do we say? Nama, Guna, Rupa, Lila. And the mantra is the qualities of the Lord, the form of the Lord is present, and even the Lila. What does Lila mean? It's not just a girl's name. Lila means the activities of the Lord. Why do we call it Lila instead of like Nama, Guna, Rupa activities? Or karma. I mean, sometimes Krishna's activities are referred to as karma, janma, karma, chame, divya. But why in this particular context we say Lila? Lila means something that someone does at a play. Now, generally, the activities that we are doing, other than devotional service, etc., are not done at a play. They're done because we have to do them. We have to do them, or we choose, let's say we choose to do them, and there's some other reason. It's not just play all day long. Can you imagine, like, if my whole life I was just playing all day long? I went to play golf this morning. No, I didn't. Went swimming later on. I played tennis with Gopal during the day. No, I didn't. Can you imagine? If someone asks, Maharaj, what did you do today? You say, that's irresponsible. What kind of a life is that for a sannyasi? You're a bogey, not a sannyasi. But Krishna is a bogey. He's not a sannyasi. In one sense, he's a sannyasi because he's renounced from the whole material world, but he's also the enjoyer, Bhaktaram Jagatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. So Krishna is the enjoyer, and he's always on vacation. It's not that he gets 2 weeks off with pay. He gets 365 days off with pay. So that's what it means to hear about Krishna. You hear about his Leela. Even his creation of the world is Leela. Like we hear about Mahavishnu lying down, breathing out, universes pop out, expand, enters into each and every one of them, Garbhadakshay Vishnu, and then into every atom, and then also the shore of the ocean milk, and the Kshirodakshay Vishnu. We hear about these things, and we think, this is Krishna's job. No, it's not. That's his Leela, because Krishna doesn't have to do it. I got news for all of you. Krishna could create the material world in a different way, where he didn't have to lie down and go to sleep and dream about it. He doesn't have to do it that way. That may shock some of you devotees, but Krishna doesn't have to do things in any particular way, or he doesn't have to do anything. Natasha karyam karanam cha vidyate. What does that mean? That Krishna doesn't have to do anything. He just wants it to, wishes it to happen, and it happens. And that includes the material world. Now he chooses to do it that particular way because he enjoys doing it that way. It's his Leela. Because he has Lakshmi with him, and he's having a good time. Because the most intimate Leelas are the Leelas of Krishna in Vrindavan. Anyway, so these Leelas are full of emotions, bhav, emotions, wonderful emotions, and you just enter into them. It's just so joyful. You're laughing, you're singing, you're rolling on the ground. Of course, you can't do this as an imitation or artificially, but this is what's in store for all of you. Remember that. So when you read Bhagavadgita, you're not going to think, this is the same old Bhagavad Gita, I already heard it. Krishna says, I'm the source of all the material and spiritual worlds. I need some nectar. No, that is nectar, because it's all nectar. But really, if you're thinking it's not, you got problems. Anyway, the Puranas are histories of the bygone ages that relate the pastimes of various incarnations of the Lord. In this way, the reading matter remains. Whoops. What happened here? What happened here? Anyway, it skipped ahead. Oh yeah, I see. I was pushing the link and it went over to something else. Remain forever fresh despite of repeating readings. But I probably would love to hear his Krishna book over and over again. And you joyfully hear it. I remember every afternoon in Los Angeles, Prabhupada would sit in this little garden. It was a little walled-off area in a concrete jungle, but it wasn't concrete where Prabhupada was. They put grass there. But they were just like this high fence around this grassland area, and Prabhupada would sit talking. Some evenings he would listen to Krishna book, and he would just be joyful. When Krishna would do things like kill demons, Prabhupada especially would start to jump up and down to basically get him. Just like someone would sit, mundaner would sit at a football game and say, smash him. And the football games or the mundane games, they have these things called cheerleaders things for people. Prabhupada didn't need cheerleaders. Because we don't have a taste for hearing and chanting, we may need a cheerleader. Okay, now Krishna's going to speak. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Hanta Te Katayashyami Divya Yatma Vibhuteyaha Pradanyata Kuru Shrestha Naschanto Vistarashyame. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Hanta, yes, Te unto you. Katayashyami, I shall speak, Divyaha, divine, he is certainly. Atma Bhuteyaha, personal opulences, Pradanyataha, which are principal, Kurushrestha, best of the Kurus, now Asti, there is not, Anta, limit, Vistarasya, to the extent may. Translated, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, yes, I will tell you of my splendorous manifestations, but only of those which are prominent, O Arjuna, for my opulence is limitless. So in other words, I'll give you a little hint of some prominent ones. But basically, when you talk about infinity, practically it's not even a hint. It's not even a drop of water in the whole ocean when you're talking about infinity. So Krishna has unlimited opulences, unlimited qualities. It is not possible to comprehend the greatness of Krishna and his opulences. The senses of the individual soul are limited and do not permit him to understand the totality of Krishna's affairs. Still, the devotees try to understand Krishna, but not on the principle that they will be able to understand Krishna fully at any specific time or in any state of life. Rather, the very topics of Krishna are so relishable that they appear to the devotees as nectar. Thus, the devotees enjoy them. In discussing Krishna's opulences and his diverse energies, the pure devotees take transcendental pleasure. Therefore, they want to hear and discuss them. Krishna knows that living entities do not understand the extent of his opulences. He therefore agrees to state only the principal manifestations of his different energies. The word pradanyataha, principle, is very important because we can understand that only a few of the principal details of the Supreme Lord, for his features are unlimited. That means infinity. It is not possible to understand them all. And vibhuti, as used in this verse, refers to the opulences of the Lord, by which he controls the whole manifestation. In the Amara Kosha dictionary, it is stated that vibhuti indicates an exceptional opulence. The impersonalist, or because this chapter is called Vibhuti Yoga anyway, or as Prabhupada translates, the opulence of the Absolute. The impersonalist or pantheist cannot understand the exceptional opulences of the Supreme Lord. So personalists, let's go over that again. One of the things ultimately the Lord is just energy, or there's no personality like that. It's just like one or something. A pantheist means one who sees this all material energy is God. Cannot understand the exceptional opulences of the Supreme Lord, nor the manifestations of his divine energies. Both in the material world and the spiritual world, his energies are distributed in every variety of manifestation. Now Krishna is describing what can be directly perceived by the common man, which is what I described yesterday, or the day before yesterday. In this particular chapter, these are empirical things. I mean, empirical things means things you can perceive that help you understand the greatness of God. But there's plenty of non-empirical stuff, like phenomenal and luminous. Thus, part of his variegated energy is described in this way. So it's just a part of things that we can relate to. Okay? So let us start. Aham atma gudakesha sarva bhutashaya stitaha hamadis chamadyam ja bhutanam mantevacha. Aham, I, Atma, the soul, gudakesha, O Arjuna, which means, O conqueror over sleep, O Arjuna. Sarvabhuta, of all living entities, ashaya stitaha, situated within the heart. Aham, I am, Adi, the origin, Cha, also, Madhyam, middle, Cha, also, Bhutanam, of all living entities, Anta, end, Eva, certainly, Cha, and. Have some translation. I am the super soul, Arjuna, seated in the hearts of all living entities. Remember we talked about the super soul? And that's the Paramatma, or also called Kshuradakshai Vishnu. And what is that super soul doing? We'll find out in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, little coming attraction, that I give everyone intelligence, remembrance, and forgetfulness according to their desires. One desires to forget Krishna, one gets intelligence. How to forget Krishna, and forgetfulness of Krishna, obviously, too. So, and one desires to remember Krishna. Krishna guides them to the spiritual master, gives them the intelligence. And what did Krishna say in the Chaturshloki verses? Anyone know? No one knows. Tesham satatiyuktanam vashatam pratipurvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are dedicated to me, give them the intelligence by which they can come to me. And also in the 18th chapter of the Gita, Krishna says, Iswara sarvabhutanam hridesha arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarvabhutani yantra rudani maya. That the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart. Same thing. Hridesha arjuna tishtati, situated in the heart. Brahmayan sarvabhutani yantra. And all these living entities are seated as upon the machine of the material energy, and the Supreme Lord is guiding them. So, that's what Krishna does. And actually, Prabhupada said, when you see certain animals do things, of course, the scientists have this word, instinct. It's instinctual. How do the birds know to fly in a certain direction, etc., like that? It's a super soul. The super soul is giving them that intelligence. You know, we may call it instinct, but it's actually coming from the super soul. The remembrance. Just like, here's another point about remembrance. Okay, let's say in the past life, we happen to be in the Krishna consciousness movement. Okay. That's possible. Very possible. So, let's say we walk into the temple for the first time in this particular lifetime, and then we see the deities or Tulsi Devi or something, and all of a sudden, deja vu. Now, normally, due to the change of bodies, you don't really have so much remembrance or any remembrance from one body to another. Like Arjuna is told by Krishna in the Gita that many, many births you and I have passed, and you were there basically when I spoke the sun to the sun god before, and I topic of the Bhagavad Gita, but you can't remember because you change your body. So generally, because we're changing our bodies, we don't really remember. Even at night, it's hard to remember what we were doing during the day. So, and it's hard to remember what we were doing or what pastimes, I don't want to say pastimes, what activities we performed when we were little kids. Because the body's changing. But Krishna remembers. He is Kshetragya. He's the knower in all bodies. So therefore, let's talk about someone remembering somewhat of their past devotional service. I mean, I had that experience. I walked into the temple for the first time. Of course, I was shocked to see everybody bowing down. Bow down, Mr. Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. But then, I saw Tulsi Dev, and everybody was walking around Tulsi Dev. Now, there wasn't any intellectual understanding of what or who Tulsi Devi was. But I started to walk around and follow the devotees. And then, wow, I've been doing this before. Now, I tell you, I never did it before in this lifetime. My parents never had me walk around a bush, never had me bow down to a bush in this lifetime, never whatever. But somehow or other I remembered, yeah, I remember doing this. And that's the super soul. Reminded me, hey, Prabhu, not Prabhu, super soul wouldn't call you Prabhu. Hey, guy, whatever super soul would call you. This is what you were doing before. Remember, you're supposed to be doing devotional service. Don't continue with the same plans you had before. Give it up. Now it's time to surrender. So anyway, that's what the super soul does. In the hearts of all living entities, Krishna is the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings. And what that means is not that Krishna creates the souls, but he puts the souls in the material world. He remains with the souls while they're in the material world, and he withdraws the souls from the material world at the time of the cosmic dissolution. In this verse, Arjuna is addressed as Gudakesha, which means one who has conquered the darkness of sleep. That's what we mentioned. For those who are sleeping in the darkness of ignorance, it is not possible to understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests himself in various ways in the material and spiritual worlds. Thus, this address by Krishna to Arjuna is significant, because Arjuna is above such darkness. The personality of Godhead agrees to describe his various opulences. Also, we have the statement by Lord Chaitanya, written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Jeev Jago, Gora Chanda. What does that mean? Wake up, soul. Wake up, soul, because we're sleeping right now. Yes, this is a long dream. You are having, at utmost, 100-year dream. That's right. It's like last night. I had so many dreams. Can't even remember. Because none of them were significant. It's actually interesting. None of them were actually significant. So I had so many dreams, and none of them were significant, because they just lasted a short time. I mean, who wants to remember them? Unless it was something really significant, meeting with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said something to me and gave me instruction. Like Prabhupada had dreams with his spiritual master. His spiritual master told him to take sannyas, and Prabhupada accepted that instruction. So let's say you had a dream that lasted, instead of 10 minutes, 15 minutes, for an hour. Okay. Is that dream any more significant? No. Let's say you had a dream that lasted for 2 hours. Is that dream any more significant? No. Let's say you were in a coma. You had a dream that lasted for 30 years. Is that dream any more significant? No. Why? Because it's temporary. I mean, if the dream continued eternally, that would be extremely significant. Okay, it wouldn't be a dream. I mean, let's say eternally you were in a coma. So, but let's say, expand that time and go to 100 years. So if you have a dream that lasts 100 years, is that any more significant? No. Because when it's over, it's over. What is that old song? Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream. I'm sure many of you used to sing that song when you were little kids. And that's it. When it's over, Prabhupada, quoting from the spiritual master, said the whole show is only temporary. Or as Shakespeare, William Shakespeare, used to say, life's a poor player that struts and frets his time upon the stage and then is heard no more. Just like we are sitting here, we think our lives are very significant. I am very significant. Our everything, all our attachments are very significant. In the same way, 100 years ago, there were people thinking the same thing. The same way, 200 years ago, the same way, 1,000 years ago, and they're basically, most of them are just lost in the annals of time. So, how significant is that? So we have to wake up. Utishta, utishta. Wake up, wake up. Jeev jago, gorachanda bole. Kota nidra yao maya pista chirako. How long have you been sleeping in the lap of Maya's witchcraft? Just like sometimes you may read a story about a witch who bewitches people. And then suddenly they wake up. Actually, I was speaking to some of the people who were on the wrong side in World War II, and they described that they were just bewitched. They fell into this herd mentality. And you actually see that today in American politics. That people fall naturally into what's called a herd mentality. Herd mentality basically means, whoops, sounds like ocean waves. I'm in the ocean. Let me turn that off. So herd mentality basically means that, like animals, they're in a herd, and they do follow the leader in the herd. You see cows, and not all animals. I don't think cats have herds, but many animals do. Yeah, the cows will all come at a specific time. Here's another chat. Okay. The cows will all come at a they were just commenting on the noise in the background. I think I have my mic up too high also. Let's see. All right, let me just adjust this microphone. Hold on a second. Turn it down a little bit. So the cows will come back to be milked at a certain time, and they'll go and they'll eat a particular field at a certain time. So human beings have that tendency. They just snap into this like zombie-like state. Like you see in Germany, everybody was going Heil Hitler, Heil. Not everybody, but a lot of people were. And the same way, certain people are doing that with certain politicians in certain countries which shall remain nameless to protect the guilty. So it's like sleeping, a sleeping condition. That's conditioning. Of course, conditioning means we think we're this body, we think we are connected with so many people. That's conditioning. So we just wake up. We're part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna's supreme personality. We love him. And we love everybody. Not we love certain people because certain people are attached to our skin genetically. Skin disease. Okay. Anyway. So let's go on. Anyway, Arjuna is above such darkness. The personality of Godhead agrees to describe as various objects. Krishna first informs Arjuna that he is the soul of the entire cosmic manifestation by dint of his primary expansion. What does that mean, the soul of the entire cosmic manifestation? The super soul of each universe is the Garbhodakshay Vishnu. That's the first expansion from the Mahavishnu. Now, in other words, Mahavishnu is the soul of all the universes. And Garbhodakshay Vishnu is the soul of each particular universe. And Kshirodakshay Vishnu is within your heart, and within each atom is the soul of the atom, the super soul of the atom. So, because in the atom, there's actually a individual soul too, an individual soul. Before the material creation, the Supreme Lord, by his plenary expansion, accepts the Purusha incarnations. From him, everything begins. Now, Purusha incarnation means the Mahavishnu, the Garbhodaksha Vishnu, and the Kshiradaksha Vishnu. Those three Vishnus. Remember, the Mahavishnu breathes out, all the universes come out. Garbhodaksha Vishnu enters into every universe, and Lord Brahma comes as born from him, and then the Kshiradaksha Vishnu expansion of Krishna enters into each and every atom in each and every person's heart. And all these expansions of Krishna are non-different from Krishna, so Krishna's doing all these amazing things simultaneously in different locations, different functions, and he's having a good time doing it. Therefore, he is Atma, the soul of the Mahatattva, the universal elements. Yeah. The total material energy is not the cause of the creation. Actually, Mahavishnu enters into the Mahatattva, the total material energy. He is the soul. When the Mahavishnu enters into the manifested universe, he again manifests himself as the super soul in each and every entity. We have experienced that the personal body of the living entity exists due to the presence of the spiritual spark. Without the existence of the spiritual spark, the body cannot develop. In other words, as soon as the soul leaves the body doesn't continue to get older. Sometimes certain things happen, like the hair may grow from a dead body, but that's something different. Similarly, the body doesn't rise again. Finished. When the soul leaves, that's finished. The body does not come out of the tomb again. There's no benefit in burying someone's body versus cremation. There's no benefit because the person's not there. And actually, you'll help the person go on to the next life by cremating the body. Because sometimes the soul in its subtle body is so attached to the gross body, that's this thing, the soul just hovers around. That's why if you go to a cemetery on a full moon night, any night, whatever, you can actually feel the presence of ghosts there because they're attached to the body that's underground. It's better you just burn it. And the person says, well, no chance, can't take it. He can't take it again. And he couldn't take it again anyway, but he's thinking, hope against hope, there'll be a chance. Similarly, the material manifestation cannot develop unless the Supreme Soul, Krishna, enters. As stated in the Subal Upanishad, Prakrityari sarva bhutantaryami sarva cheshi janarayanaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is existing as the Super Soul in all manifested universes. The three Purusha avatars are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. We talked about this many times before. They are also described in the Sattvata Tantra. Vishnostu Trini Rupani Purusha Yanyato Vidaho. The Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests three features: Karanadaksha Vishnu, that's the Mahavishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, which we described innumerable times, and Kshiradaksha Vishnu in this material manifestation. The Mahavishnu or Karanadaksha Vishnu, the same person, or they're all the same person anyway, is described in the Brahma Samhita in the 5th chapter, text 47. Yakaranarna bhajate bhajati sma yoga nidram. The Supreme Lord Krishna, the cause of all causes, lies down in the cosmic ocean as Mahavishnu. And then the universes come out from him. And therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the beginning of this universe, the maintainer of the universal manifest, and the end of all energy, because he withdraws everything within himself. It's sometimes described like a spider. He makes a spider web and he withdraws his spider web after he's caught his prey. Okay, I think we have time for just one more verse. Adichanam aham vishnor jyotisham ravirang shuman Marichir marutam asme nakshatranam aham shashi. Adichanam of the ditches, aham, I am, Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, Jyotisham, of all luminaries, Ravihi, the sun, Amshuman, radiant, Marichihi, Marichi, Marutam of the Maruts, Asmi, I am, Nakshatranam of the stars, Aham, I am, Shashi, the moon. Of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Of lights, I am the radiant sun. Of the Maruts, I am Marichi. And among the stars, I am the moon. There are 12 Adityas, of which Krishna is the principal. Among all the luminaries shining in the sky, the sun is the chief. And in the Brahma Samhita, the sun is accepted as the glowing eye of the Supreme Lord. There are 50 varieties of wind blowing in space, and of these winds, the controlling deity, Marichi, represents Krishna. Must be similar to Vayu, anyway. Among the stars, the moon is the most prominent at night, and thus the moon represents Krishna. It appears from this verse that the moon is one of the stars, therefore the stars that twinkle in the sky also reflect the light of the sun. The theory that there are many suns within the universe is not accepted by Vedic literature. The sun is one, and as by the reflection of the sun, the moon illuminates, so also do the stars. Since Bhagavad Gita indicates herein that the moon is one of the stars, the twinkling stars are not suns, but are similar to the moon. The moon is actually luminous too. And, what do we say about this? Would the scientists say something different? The scientists have not gone there to any of the stars. They're simply sampling light that's coming from these different stars, nakshatranam, and they're developing theories about that light based upon the spectrum of the light. So I'm not going to comment on the scientists' theories because it's all based upon speculation. Okay, on that happy note, let's continue with text 22 tomorrow. And now we'll open up the floor or the computer for questions. Just give me 1 second and take all of you nice participants off of mute. Give me 1 second and we can take some nice questions. Okay, you are all free to ask questions. Nobody wants to ask. All right, we got one victim. Okay, who's asking? Oh, that's Rishikesh. Good to hear from you. Yeah, accept my blessing.
One quick question, Gurudev, about I want to understand, whatever activities we are doing, like chanting, sankirtan, reading. I'm hearing this class from you. Is this also all the part of dream?
Part of what?
The dream. I mean, you said this material life is a dream. Right?
No, this is not a dream. It's not that you're not that you're dreaming. You're hearing this. This class, of course, you're not able to hear perfectly. And when you wake up, if you were able to hear perfectly, it's like right now you're in the dream. It's not that the class is in the dream. So you're hearing it. You're hearing the dream in a half-wakened state. Like right now, it's like the twilight time, not the twilight zone. But it's like the twilight time when you're just waking up in the morning and you're just wondering, where am I? Who am I? And your alarm clock says, you are Rishikesh. And you need to go to work in a half an hour from now. So it's like we're just like starting to wake up. But still, there's a lot of daydreaming stuff going on at the same time. Like, you still have a lot of dreaming. Like you're dreaming, Rishikesh, that you're from a certain family, and you have your children, not so little anymore, and you have your wife. I'm not saying that you wake up from the dream and get rid of them all. That's not the point, but that would be dangerous. I'd be killed by all the wives out there and all the husbands. So, we understand the elements of the dream and we act since we still have to function in the dream. It's something like, wow, now that I think about it, it's something like that Matrix movie. That, of course, most of you have seen The Matrix, or if you haven't seen The Matrix, you're in complete Maya. So it's more or less like that movie, that this Neo character He's aware that the matrix is not real, but he has to enter into it to carry out his particular function of being the one. One means someone who will liberate people from the matrix. Anyway, I hope I'm not going to put everyone in Maya after this. So he understands that he has to function according to the... He's breaking the rules of the matrix, but still he has to have some idea of the rules of the matrix in order to function and help people. So we have to sort of be in the dream to serve Krishna, but the hearing and chanting about Krishna is not actually part of the dream. That's to actually keep our other foot solidly in the spiritual world. Another example is that the cave analogy in Plato, one of the Platonic dialogues, it's actually a Socratic dialogue, but Plato wrote it, that once upon a time, there were a bunch of people in the cave, and all they could see were shadows. There was hardly any light in there, and one of the guys happened to wander out. His name was Gopal. So he wandered out of the cave, and he came to the light. And he said, wow, there's a whole world out here. Unbelievable, a real world, a light world. So Gopal goes back into the cave, and he says, there's a real world out there. And they just say, you're in Maya! And he yells at them, you're in Maya! Anyway, so they go back and forth yelling at each other. I'm just adding a little bit to the Socratic dialogue anyway. So it's actually a beautiful, beautiful description. And so in other words, they don't understand that there's a whole world out there because they're in Maya. But he goes back to their world to try to convince them. So he also has to function according to their world, and the world of shadows, to deal with them. So in other words, devotees have to have their foot in both worlds if they want to serve. And actually, I was listening to a class that Srila Prabhupada was giving just this afternoon while I was cooking a prasadam to offer to my deities, where Prabhupada said, Krishna, he was repeating his famous verse in the 18th chapter of the Gita, where Krishna says, no one is more dear to me than he who teaches this Bhagavad Gita to devotees. And Prabhupada said, Krishna never says that no one is more dear to me than he who just sits down and just tries to be Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti. So, anyway, a little preaching class there for you. So the point is, the point is that we actually have to function in both worlds. Because even to be responsible, you have to at least make believe that the illusion is real. Can you imagine that? Making believe that the illusion is real. Wow. Just like Neo did in the Matrix. He made believe that the illusion was real. Just to function. So, anyway, I don't want to get further into it because I'll get in trouble with so many people who have personal relationships in this world, and I don't want to do that. It could get me in big trouble. So anyway, yes, this hearing is not part of the illusion, but you're just hearing it right now in a semi-sleeping state. Like if you were to hear the holy name in a fully awake state, you'd be rolling on the ground in ecstasy. It's like, here's another thing. All these different thoughts come to my mind. It's like you're semi-asleep and someone whispers in your ear, you just won $1 million in the lottery. It's just like, what'd you say? You just won $1 million in the lottery. What'd you say? You just won $1 million in the lottery. Huh? I thought you said I won $1 million in the lottery. That's what I said, you rascal. And then you go, oh, okay. So it's the same thing. You just won the spiritual lottery. And you're just not even hearing, you're just basically hearing it. Like in a dream state. Okay. So that's a nice question. So let's see. We have some more questions. Let me look at the chats.
Gurudev.
I have a question.
Gopal. Oh,
Um,
who was that?
so
Champaka has a question?
I'll wait for
ladies,
Gopal.
Gopal, no. He
ladies
doesn't
first.
dance
Go
back
ahead.
as well as you do.
Well, you haven't seen me.
He plays tennis better, but anyway. All right, so, all right, let Gopal go first, then Champaka. Okay, unmute yourself.
So you mentioned earlier about the Nazis and how herd mentality, because people were asleep, they weren't
Yeah.
aware to the reality of what was going on. So and you also mentioned that there's similar things going on even today. So when devotees who are even partially aware of reality, when we witness these things, what is our duty?
What is our duty? Our duty is to chant Hare Krishna. We can't get into this the mundane world too much. I mean, it's a little bit too
Well,
much.
if something like
I was
if
just
something like
reading
the Holocaust,
about psychology today that if people repeat a lie often enough, it actually becomes accepted.
so if something
So,
as drastic as the Holocaust were about to happen, then what is our
what is our
responsibility?
responsibility? Chant Hare Krishna before it happens.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in a position of power, yeah, if you can do something, do something. But if you can't, as the Serenity Prayer goes, understand what you can do, what you can't do. You have to be practical. But at least we should not be part of this herd mentality. We should not be subject to cognitive dissonance. This is actually the topic that I wanted to speak about, but I'm not going to speak about. Cognitive dissonance is that we accept something blindly because that happens to be, what we're supposed to accept, even if it actually conflicts with observable phenomena. And we're not talking about Krishna consciousness now. Krishna consciousness is transcendental. So obviously, when we talk about Krishna marrying 16,108 ladies, this may conflict with observable phenomena. But Krishna is transcendental. But when we hear things about observable phenomena and it conflicts, then we should think twice about accepting those things. That's the point. I mean, even Jiva Goswami gives a lot of credence to empiric observation. In his talk, in his Tattva Sandarbha, he doesn't totally discount empiric evidence. You understand? But of course, better than empiric evidence is Shabda Pramana. Anyway, it's a little complex. And I have a lot of insights into cognitive dissonance and ways that this particular phenomena misleads devotees in establishing different strategies for our movement. But I'm not going to get into it because I want to remain as part of the Hare Krishna movement for the next 50 years. It's going to all be written in my will. So after I leave, you'll read, say, oh my God, this is what he was talking about. So, all right, next question is Champaka.
Hare Krishna Gurudev.
Yeah.
So you were talking about chanting and meditating on what we're saying and specifically meditating on Nama Guna Rupa Lila. Sometimes devotees will say that chanting means you should only meditate on Nama. So is it wrong? Like, for example, if I start meditating on our Lalita Madhava drama while I'm chanting, is that wrong?
Wrong? That's pretty ecstatic. I just meditate on what I'm going to be eating for breakfast when I'm chanting. Not really, because actually I'm eating the same thing every morning for breakfast. There's nothing to meditate upon. It's boring. So anyway,
Like,
so
recently I heard a devotee asked a senior Vaishnava question. She said, it was actually here. She said that she meditates on how she's going to dress Radhagolokananda, and this senior devotee told her that that was wrong.
what?
That she should only be hearing the name.
Oh my God! What do we mean by nama guna rupa lila? That when we hear the name and Krishna reveals himself through the name, do we say to Krishna, shut the door? That's like saying to Krishna, shut the door, isn't it? Because nama guna rupa lila. I'm chanting, all of a sudden, nama guna, and all of a sudden the qualities of Krishna come to my mind, and I hear Krishna's flute. No, it doesn't happen. I'm just theoretically. Just talking theoretically. Actually, what happens if I chant in the temple room? Somebody's going in and out of the temple room every 5 minutes, and I'm thinking. Some of you may have experienced this before. That people just can't sit still in the temple room while they're chanting japa, so they're going in and out. So I'm thinking, oh my God, can't this person just like sit there for more than 2 minutes? So instead of thinking of guna, rupa, lila, I'm thinking of, anyway, you get it. So, but if Krishna's qualities manifest themselves, or Krishna's form, and you're dressing the deities while you're chanting, and you're here, then don't say no, Or was it Nancy Reagan said, just say no, or something like that? Or we say, just don't say no. Oh my God, if something really ecstatic comes to your mind while you're chanting, and it has nothing to do with your sense gratification, get into it. But it has to come naturally. It can't force itself. If it flows. If it flows into the mind, just Hare Krishna, and then Krishna's form appears, and then the clothes and the jewelry appear, and then Krishna starts killing the demons. I wish I could experience those things. I mean, at best, I start killing the demons.
Can I
I
ask?
start killing my disciples. But anyway, that's another issue.
Can I extend that question a little bit more?
Yeah, expand it.
So what if someone's meditating on some more, like, I guess you could say, down to earth service, like, landscaping the garden at the temple, or even their home garden that's for Krishna's service? I mean, is that considered lila because it's part of the holy names?
Well, it depends on the consciousness, I would say. If they're thinking of pleasing, if the mood is devotion, then it's okay. But if the mood is just like, I want to decorate my house, I mean, just like I have things in my house I'd like to decorate too, like I'd like to get rid of the mold, for example. So, and then I think it's rather self-centered. It's not. No, I wouldn't recommend that sort of meditation. Unless it's just like out of love, decorating. I mean, like, remember Shelbury, the lady from the pig cast? Does anybody know who Shelbury is? Shelbury was actually decorating her garden and her walkway because she was expecting Ram to come at any minute. Not because she just wanted to have a nice looking house. You have to understand the motive, the difference. And if she was chanting Ram, and at the same time in her mind decorating that walkway with flowers, and which she was doing. And then while she was doing that, she opened up her eyes. And who did she see but Ram and Lakshman? So that's perfect meditation. But I think in general, one has to be careful about like extending the japa meditation to something so far-fetched. as decorating your garden. I think in general, I would say, stick with the deities or stick with Krishna's pastimes or Krishna's form. I mean, oftentimes, just the other day on Ekadashi, I was a little calm, which is unusual for me. So I was chanting here. I can show you actually. I was chanting here, sitting at my desk, not playing with a computer, but I have this nice frame here. I don't know if you can see it. Here it is, the other frame. That just like rotates from one picture of Radha Golokananda to another. So I was just sitting in front of this electronic frame and chanting and feeling so happy and looking at the deities. And anyway, so that's the form, the rupa of the form. Rupa means form. So anyway, so why do we have pictures of Krishna everywhere? I mean, why not just have pictures of some political leader everywhere? We have pictures of Krishna, so, I have pictures of Prabhupada, I have pictures of Krishna, I have a picture of Srimati Radharani. It's nice. And sometimes, when I'm chanting japa, I'll just look at a picture of Prabhupada and just think, let me serve you. Sometimes I'll look at Krishna's lotus feet and let me serve you. So, yes, we should hear the holy names, but the holy names will reveal themselves to you in terms of the guna, rupa, and lila. But I think one has to be careful about stretching it too far.
Can I ask you a question about what I say to my students for our japa time, whether it's all right? So I tell them, I say, so many thoughts will come, so many anxieties will come, but this is your time to be with Krishna. This is our date time, basically. We have a date every day where it's just Krishna and us, private time with Krishna. I said, so if these thoughts come or anxieties come, you can tell Krishna about them. You can give them to Krishna. You can say, please take care of this for me. Please carry this for me. But right now, I really just want to have some time with you. I don't want to worry about this right now.
Good. That's good.
It's okay.
I think that's perfect. That's perfect. But if your time with Krishna, when you're having your time with Krishna, Krishna starts dancing for you, then go with it. I'm not saying that I have that, but it's nice.
Sir,
Krishna starts
sir,
dancing. What's that? Rishikesh
is it
has
okay
a
if I
question.
Mayapur TV, you can see some program going on, Guru Puja, just put the sound in mute and watch
That
that
can
and
really, I think it can divert the attention when there's something like, like one devotee said, wake me up when my japa's done. So if it's the deities, yeah. But if we're watching all sorts of devotees doing things, actually, we'll start thinking about it. I think anyway, you have to see whatever's best, accept whatever's favorable, reject whatever's unfavorable. I mean, I'm happy that someone is just chanting their japa. But the more attentive, the better. And if things come naturally, I mean, just like when I'm sitting in front of the pictures, these electronic pictures. Here's another picture just came out. Anyway, whatever. When it just comes naturally. I just look at Krishna and think how beautiful he is. I'm doing more than just hearing the sound vibration. I'm actually just thinking, oh, how wonderful Krishna's smiling. Of course, some mornings we go and they open the curtains. They said, Krishna is not happy this morning. Uh-oh, what did I do? And it's interesting, other devotees have a completely different impression. Krishna, for them, he'll be happy with them, but with me, he may just think, what are you doing, you rascal? So, Krishna reciprocates with everybody according to their devotion. So I think it's a personal thing, but it is, yes, you're right, it's the quality time, QT, quality time with Krishna, the japa, and one should treat it as such, not treat it as a time to drive your car. I've seen many devotees, they drive their car while they're chanting japa. And they're not doing either activity very well. That is, they're not driving very well, they're not chanting japa very well. So, nama, guna, rupa, lila. If these things get automatically revealed to you while you're chanting, it's ecstatic. It's completely ecstatic. I mean, sometimes when I'm chanting, it just pops into my mind about Prabhupada's incredible mercy. Does that mean I'm inattentive while chanting japa? I don't think so. So it's really hard to make a hard and fast rule about these things. The whole point is that yes, you should hear. Obviously, you should hear the sound vibration, every syllable, as Prabhupada said. But at the same time, if there's something devotional with Krishna's pastimes or form or whatever, it comes into your mind. It's not that you want to kick it out. Okay, now it is time. It will be time soon for my yoga nidra. This is my pastime. So, anyway, if you don't know what yoga nidra is, have some devotee translate it for you. Not right away, but I have to unwind after a class so I don't end up bouncing on the walls for the whole night. Okay, thank you very much, and tomorrow we will continue. All glories to His divine grace, Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai.